so thankful and grateful for all the educators we have, but I think sometimes what people don't realize is how many people we have leading our service departments who have been working around the clock, from human resources to facilities management to business services to IT to our research department. It just goes on and on. They're so vital every year for September startup, and they're sort of the unsung heroes. They just do it. But more so than ever, how people have been working around the clock to prepare. And I also got to admit, our school principals, they've been connecting through the summer as well. We've asked principals to come back a week earlier last week. Our guidance counselors had an option, voluntarily came back 3 days to help. And we also have our office administrators, who help our principals. They were back early, and as you can see them in schools, helping with phone calls and connecting with parents. So they have stepped up, and we also notice that some staff are anxious about this change, right? They're grieving. We're going to grieve what we used to have, and people want to go back to that, but we have to spend some time getting used to this new normal. What we're engaged in right now, and we'll have the data shortly, is asking parents, even those who choose to do face-to-face, if they're still going to choose transportation. So we need that data. In secondary, just to be clear, that as students are coming in an adaptive model, which means a hybrid model, adaptive in cohorts, even on the buses, students need to be loaded in those numbers of 15. But in elementary, as you heard across the province, when all boards are opening up in conventional, that it's clear that the buses are being encouraged to load them, A, to capacity, B, to keep the row behind the bus drivers vacant, to keep that physical distancing, and extra money to support enhanced cleaning in between. And in addition, we're one of many boards that have mandated as well through the trustees that masks will be mandatory not only for 4 to 8 across the province, but K to 3. So all those measures in place. But I think it's important that we are able to be agile at this point in time. So what's going to be key here is that once we get the numbers of how many people are being transported, and then review our September opening. Once we're in September, what's the reality? And to always be able to revisit, what decisions have been made in the past. And then ministry was clear that they still do expect us to provide transportation at the end of the day in our secondary model, because students will have the choice to stay in a study hall that we're still working through. So if they don't have robust internet at home, the schools have them. And if this learning environment is a better place to learn, then we need to offer it and then to provide it. So that's being worked out as well over the next week or two to find out how many students will remain in study hall.
So is there actually going to be someone in the hallway, telling people, they need the distance, or is it going to be assumed that students are?
So great question. We have to be explicit, right? So supervision will be important, and we're going to have to be explicit around teaching those new behaviors. And I believe our students will rise to the occasion, but I think it's vital why the trustees supported staff in that delayed and staggered start is vital. And the trustees asked me as the operational leader, do you think we need more time? If you do, please let us know. And I said, based on all the emerging issues last week with staffing and changes, the time is necessary to put these safety measures in place. I forget who it is. We're actually visiting schools with the epidemiologist because we know that some of the concerns that people have is the natural gathering. So staff rooms is a place people want to gather. That staff room is actually not going to be a place where people can gather. There's limitations on use of microwaves and touch points. So people are going to have to, in small groups, continue to physical distancing, and the numbers in each room have to be limited, even to staff rooms. I'll give you an example. Even our board office, there's a little kitchenette with a photocopier. There's a sign that says limit 1. It's only one of us at a time that can go in there, and we have to just respect and honor that. What's key is to make sure we inform people, and it's going to take a while for people to put those new practices, hence why that staggered start and transition for staff to come in, especially if they're changing locations, will be key those first 2 days next week. We do have a virtual school option. We're not creating a virtual school like the rest of the boards. In our district, e-learning has really grown prior to this. So to give you an example, last year we had about 8,000 credits awarded to students who chose e-learning. And not necessarily full-time e-learning. They might have taken 2 classes face-to-face and 2 classes in e-learning. So in that model, the e-learning courses are still attached to their secondary school. So with 13 secondary schools in our adult ed, we're still keeping that model attached to it. So we will be offering it, we're just not calling it separate remote. We're in elementary, we're actually going to be creating a separate remote school with a new MIDIT number, with new administration attached. We'll be tracking those numbers over the first semester, and if we see that how the model goes, we might eventually make a different decision to create, but right now that model is a structure that we've already had in place that was working, and we're going to continue to use that structure. So yeah, so let me clarify a couple things and how the secondary model is different. So what the expectations were in last spring across the province around everyone being in remote learning. And we know that was a crisis response, and parents told us that there was a range of experiences. You heard the minister come out clearly around what they expect through the policy program memorandum around synchronous learning. So for those students who choose full e-learning, they will have that e-learning experience, a full teacher attached. For the students who are coming face-to-face in the hybrid model, so they are face-to-face every other day, in the afternoon, attendance is taken. The expectation is different than the spring, because at that time the ministry actually waived attendance at that time to give boards flexibility to get their structures in place. So there's an expectation that our educators will be live direct teaching with the students for those 3 periods, and students need to log in, and there will be attendance taken as if you were in the physical space. So those expectations and the training for teachers is happening as well, and that's also part of our staggered approach. Our platforms have standardized, you've heard the province called Brightspace. We call that our hub, our learning management system. With Microsoft Teams, they're integrated. So that's our standard platform across the district, and that's one thing parents told us last year with the Thought Exchange. You know, I have 3 kids, one comes home on this platform, one comes home on this platform. Can you standardize the platforms so the user experience is similar? So we have done that as well.